Welcome, I'm your host Malcolm Gallagher. From our BizVision studios in the UK, you're watching the Conscious Matters show on the BBTV network. I've been involved in the marketing of the leisure, food and drink, hospitality and tourism sector for well over 40 years, as you can see from the grey hair. Now, I know the importance of branding and packaging in the whole buying process, but I'm also committed to the planet, people and profit agenda. And I despair when I put my blue wheelie bin out with its unavoidable amount of non-recyclable plastic packaging. So imagine my delight when I got the opportunity to interview the founder and CEO of the world's first truly biodegradable, compatible and commercially viable alternative to that planet-destroying plastic packaging that I put in the wheelie bin. Let's find out about Toraphene by meeting Gaute Juliussen. Welcome, Gaute.
Thank you so very much, Malcolm. I'm really happy to be on your network.
Yeah, and I don't know why we're doing this conversation, because you're just wallowing in luxury in Bermuda there with all that sunshine, and I'm in cold Northumberland. But never mind, we're socially distancing, aren't we?
We are socially distancing, and it just so happens we're trying to jumpstart this in two continents. This is a good place to be to get it going on the west coast of the United States, as well as in the UK, where we are based.
Excellent. Right. Now, Toraphene sounds like music to the ears of a senseless plastic packaging hater like me. Tell me about it and what it is.
Yes. So Toraphene combined basically the most advanced material ever discovered, which is graphene, discovered in Manchester in 2010, really, when the Nobel Prize was given for its discovery by two PhDs at the University of Manchester. Graphene is combined with natural polymers such as cellulose from trees and plants, starch from grains and sugar cane, alginate from seaweed, bacteria grown from landfill or compost methane gas, and such, to create Toraphene. So basically, graphene plus these things creates a unique composite material with similar properties to plastic, but that is non-toxic, can be beneficially consumed by essential microorganisms that break down things in nature naturally. And it is commercially viable, which means that you can purchase it at a price point that is sensible.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I know that biodegradable plastics exist, but don't they have the disadvantage of consuming energy to compost them? And aren't they the producers of methane?
Right. This is a very good question, and I could easily develop an answer to this that is deeply rooted in science. But I'll try to be a little bit more direct on this. Well, we are a movement for change, not because we want to serve our ego or need for cash, but because Toraphene can be derived from plant material, like what we mentioned, and most importantly because it can compost also in the ocean. And composting is the biological decomposition and stabilization of organic substrates that involves aerobic respiration and produces a final product which is called digestate. Another word is humus. And another word is compost. This is stable, free of pathogens and plant seeds, and can be beneficially applied to land. During the process of aerobic composting, yes, it generates carbon dioxide, water, and heat. And so this is composting. So you don't hear the word methane in this one, do you?
No,
Well,
no.
then there is an alternative form of composting, which is anaerobic digestion, where methane is produced and it's collected to generate energy. This is in the UK called industrial composting, and it's basically a industrial plant that collects the compostable packaging. And during the process of anaerobic digestion, which means anaerobic means in the absence of oxygen, right? It generates methane, carbon dioxide, and then some low molecular weight intermediates such as alcohols and some organic matter and essentially humus or compost, as I mentioned before. And but yes, it does generate methane, but we collect the methane. Um, in this method, the energy generated can be basically generated by the methane generated, so that the energy that goes into the process is basically taken from the methane gas that's produced. So it becomes a net zero
Net. Yeah.
emission. So
Yeah.
there is a way to do this, but it's a very good question because it will generate methane gas. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. I'm with you totally now. So, why haven't we seen alternatives to plastic packaging until now? After all, it's something we've been aware of for ages, especially the damages to our wildlife.
Absolutely. So alternatives have come now the last couple of years. As the public has been informed directly through social media and the internet, through peer networks, and basically through other channels than the often times traditional media, who could be conflicted at times, where of course they have to pay attention to the big incumbent companies that have been producing the packaging that we have today. So the internet, in a sense, have liberated the innovators to, like myself, to be able to speak out about our innovations, which is quite a good thing for everyone. And it has helped, of course, that when you have on the internet the ability to show video and you can show what happens to turtles, to whales, to or adorable creatures in the ocean that are just being hampered by plastic, right? And so I think that the time has just sort of come where that information will be going out, and it has done that. So now we all get around the table to try to solve this.
Yeah. Yes, I want to keep on that track there because the excellent work that you're doing. I read some very disturbing facts, though, such as Greenpeace saying a truckload of plastic enters the ocean every single minute. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll just say that again so that people absorb that. A truckload of plastic enters the ocean every single minute. And Plastic Ocean saying that more than 8 million tons of plastic enter the oceans each year. Those are jaw-dropping figures. I can see why your product is so welcome, but I go back again to why has nothing been done until now? This great innovation by you. Are there people with vested interests slowing down development, or do we not yet truly care for our planet?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and and I've reflected on this, of course, a lot. I think it boils down to human nature. We do not like change. We're not really put together to deal with change, and so when change come upon us, it's just something we're hesitant to do. It just is so, though, that like tobacco needed to be changed in the eyes of people, right? Where maybe marketing has taken it a little bit too far about how great it is. And then the same thing with something like asbestos, right? Asbestos is fantastic to put out potential fires in your walls. It's wonderful at that, but there is more to the story, right? So with plastic, fantastic, right? You might have seen that movie, right? Where Dustin Hoffman goes, plastic, fantastic. I would like to remind you of one word, plastic. Well, but there was more to the story, right? Well, and that more to the story has been discovered now, actually through video of who gets hurt by it, right? There has been information getting out now that when you put hot milk into a baby bottle, right, and you shake it around, you do get more than 1 million pieces of microplastic in
Yeah.
that bottle that you give to your infant, right? And we are not necessarily comfortable about that. But yeah, so I think it comes back to the previous question. I think open media channels like yours is making it easier for everyone to get around the facts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I also think in the way as well that the time that we're in at this moment is a time of change. And
Mm.
we're accepting change as it's been thrown at us. So now is the time for Toraphene, in my mind.
Yep.
Now, I love the fact that it's got graphene in it, because all my many viewers and listeners in Manchester will be waving the flag at the moment of there, because we were very proud of that development. So what's the importance, though, of Toraphene having graphene in it? What does it do for the end result?
Yep. It really is a- well, it's a very welcome discovery, right? Because here comes a material that is the strongest and lightest and thinnest in the world, and it is totally impermeable to everything, every single molecule. So what it can do to plastic, like the organic polymers, the natural polymers that we are dealing with, because they break down naturally, and it creates a circular sort of sustainable world, is that it makes it, number one, stronger, which means thinner, which means less packaging.
Yeah.
And we are sort of drowning in packaging, right, in the landfills and wherever. So that is a very good thing. Then a second thing is, and people often may ignore this fact about packaging, but most of the time, packaging is not just there to carry something from the store into your car. It is there for a barrier between the contents of the food and the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it typically it stops oxygen from coming in, because if oxygen comes in, it starts the natural process of degradation and basically turning into humus or compost. So you don't want too much oxygen in towards your product, let's say fresh fruits and vegetables. And it also stops the water from leaving the produce or the food and the content of the material. So the barrier of a bio material like paper, for example, is not very good,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. In plastics, there are some plastics where the barrier is good, but usually when you open a bag of crisps, you can see that actually this doesn't look like plastic, it looks like metal, and
Yeah.
it is metal, right? Um, Now, when you put um, plastic together with metal, you get a composite material that is terrible for the environment, because the metal happens to be aluminum oxide, which is toxic to humans. And it's something that cannot be recycled. You cannot take a material, um, two materials, and try to recycle it, because it's just not chemically possible. So it ends up in the landfill.
Got you. Got you.
Now, we put in graphene, which is a barrier material that is a perfect barrier to all molecules that exist. Um, it basically makes for a more tortuous path for molecules that are trying to make it from the inside to the outside of the packaging, or from the outside to the inside. And so hence the content can be kept safe from infections, and clearly we have an infection going on worldwide right now. And it also keeps the flavor and the aroma conserved inside, and it delays the breakdown and spoilage, which is the cause of food wastage in the world, which is up there towards 50% of all food. I've heard the figure 40% of all food gets spoiled. Well, that is because of the barrier to keep the agent that caused the food to basically turn towards compost at bay. And Toraphene can do that.
Mm. I just think it's wonderful. And just before we move on to our next question, I just want to remind viewers, and I'll read it out for listeners, of your URL, of your website, which is on the screen behind me, and it's www, obviously, Toraphene, and that's for listeners, Toraphene, toraphene.com. Now, we're in 2021. Where are you at the moment with the introduction of this excellent product into the marketplace? Is it going as fast as you want? What are the key challenges to uptake?
Right. So I'm very happy to be able to report this, and you know, I have spent some time as an entrepreneur and also as a venture capitalist, and also teaching entrepreneurship as a associate professor in business school in the United States. But I find now that interest is much stronger than what we expected, and I think it is probably because in everybody's kitchen, whether you are economically advantaged or whether you are not, you have a garbage bin. It's brimming with plastic. You tend to have a refrigerator. It's brimming with plastic. Just about every item in there is encapsulated in plastic. And during COVID, when you don't go to restaurants much anymore because you can't, you order these things online, and every item that is ordered online is likely to contain more plastic than content, right? So what has happened to us now is that, you know, we have had tremendous interest. Now there is you know, a challenge in terms of how media is basically dealing with the various sources of facts, right? And so you might have a source of information that would say that recycling is wonderful and it will solve every problem with packaging. Well, that is just not the whole story, right? Because recycling is actually not economical, and recycling just keeps generating plastic, doesn't it? Right. So it's not clear that recycling is a solution, and then there is other solutions that's been proposed, etc. Well, we are just simply proposing a solution which is undisputable, which is replace the whole thing.
Yeah.
We don't need plastic. We didn't have it 70 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
I like that. Forget recycling, replacement is what it's about. So I'm going to start a campaign now. Then we've got obviously an army of people on Conscious Matters show that are really interested in the planet, and we'll probably have to stand and picket the supermarkets for you. How's that? You know?
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'll come out. Yep.
I'll have to wait until COVID's over, though, because I'm not allowed to get together in groups. But we can, of course, tell the story strongly here on media. And I think that's the most important thing. Take this opportunity of understanding the power and the excitement of Toraphene, of redressing those awful things we've been doing to our wildlife. You must have a vision for the use of Toraphene other than just replacing plastic packaging in supermarkets. Tell us some of the dreams of usage that you have.
Yeah, what I think we are really lucky to have is a concept that applies to everyone that wants to replace plastic. So it's not about just building Toraphene as a company. It's about enabling also the other peers that are trying to replace plastic. So someone that comes up with a material from cassava, say, right, or maybe from shrimp. we can help them by inserting the armor and the barrier inside of their product. And they can go with their product, and we are just additive to them. We're just a help to them. All plastic sheds microplastic to our environment, right? We have an ambition together with the partners, as I mentioned, and peers, to replace all of the $4 trillion annual production of it. $4 is the annual production of plastic right now, and it's increasing by a large factor. And those trucks are getting basically piling up at the beach, dumping it in the ocean.
I just admire your ambition without a doubt. And can you do it a little bit faster, please? Because my new grandson with his baby bottle needs it very quickly, please.
I agree. We're trying to be fast, and we are good at that. That's what small companies tend to be better at, is doing things fast.
Yeah. Let's keep telling the world. Gaute, I'd like to give all my guests 3 wishes, and yours are for our planet in 2021. Apart from the greater use of Toraphene, what are your 3 wishes regarding actions to be taken by businesses to save our planet?
Yes, and of course, this list is easily 10 points or more, but I will try to distill the top 3. Number 1, legislation. It really is one of those areas where if you legislation to discourage use of plastics, which is coming and it's being introduced all over the world. You have places like Kenya that have completely forbidden it, right? And because they have probably a bit of a more long-term view, which is nice. And you have places like Costa Rica, which has pretty much done the same. Now, a large and more complex economy is just a little bit more difficult to make decisions like this. But legislation to discourage use of plastic is number 1. Number 2, and it's somewhat similar, public budget allocations to the afterlife infrastructure needed to handle replacement to plastic mechanisms. It is important and key. So if someone is going to the supermarket and they decide to buy a compostable packaging for their bag that they're carrying the groceries home in, they need to know that there is a place to put that where it's actually going to go and compost and benefit the environment. That it doesn't get into the bin that goes to the landfill. So afterlife infrastructure is critical as well. Number 3, I would say that we need to get to a new accounting principle for materials, right? So there is a accounting principle for companies, and it's called generally accepted accounting practices. And this is how you account for the health of a company.
Yeah.
I've been teaching accounting, so it's very familiar to me that how you have this rule body that basically accounts for this is how you quantify a company. Well, you should quantify a product as well. So if you can have a cradle to cradle is a common term for it, life cycle analysis of this is how much our product or our packaging costs in the total life cycle when in its use, from being taken out of the deep crust of our earth, maybe 6 kilometers down, when it comes up like petrochemicals, right? And the cost of doing so. And then all the way back to when it gets into the soil to produce the humus or compost that is needed to grow a new packaging product. And so life cycle analysis and cradle to cradle and the requirement for having an auditor that go through that on the products that we consumers buy. It shouldn't be that difficult because we have it for companies. Why don't we have it for products?
Brilliant. And I'm going to give you a 4th wish from me, and that procurement officers around the world put onto their specification list Toraphene.
Yes, and our peers as well. alternatives to plastics. There's many of them, and yes, we can do it together.
Excellent. Gaute Juliussen of Toraphene, I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I want to say how much I'm inspired by your brilliant invention. I know it's taken lots and lots of years, but the world is going to truly benefit from it. Thanks for a great interview.
Thank you very much, Malcolm.